Rhonda from Joy Juntique, and today I'm back to show you how I made these cute little paper combs. I had shown y'all in my last design team project how I had made these really pretty little paper combs that I filled with all kinds of goodies. And so I had told you I would come back and show you how I made them. So that's what we're going to do today. So I hope you're ready to have some fun. Okay, so I've got some already kind of rolled up for you to see. And this is just using regular cardstock I got from Walmart. And I printed both sides of the paper. And how big they are is kind of determined by how tight you roll them, by how you print your paper with or without margins. So it all just kind of plays into how big it turns out. And you can cut this little point off if you like, but I kind of like having that in the back to kind of hold everything in it that's going to go in there. So here's some that I've already kind of rolled up. Really pretty digitals. So from Sam Pool. So those are going to be really pretty when I get through with those. This one and this one are from Christy at Everlasting Journals. And this one is from Oldestina. And then I also have this one from Sweet Pea Curiosities. And I wanted to use this as an example, tell you that if your printer allows you to change the margins to where they're uniform, is how it says it on mine, then that way when you double print, you're guaranteed that they're going to be exactly in the same spot on both sides. If you set it to uniform on each one, the lines on the outside will be perfectly matched up for you to cut out, and you won't have to waste any of the design. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm just going to grab one of these and start trying to make my cone shape. So I have them double-sided. When I turn it into it, I put this side inside of it, and that's just what works for me. And it takes me a minute to get it to want to cooperate, but that's the way that works for me when I'm twisting. And so I kind of let it go down in there, and then I go to the bottom and I kind of twist it, and as you twist it, you see it's going to start bowing up. Well, then I just kind of keep pushing down and I keep twisting at the bottom. There's really no way for me to explain how I do this. I just kind of let some of the slack out as I twist, so that maybe I get a tighter, tinier little point down here. So I just work with it. I kind of pull this inside a little bit and let it just keep kind of unraveling a little bit. I hold it, I twist it, and then I kind of like how the top looks. I don't want it to be too tight in there. I want it to kind of be loose at the top but tight at the bottom. So it's just a matter of twisting and pulling and twisting and pulling some more and holding. I know there's patterns out there that might make it a lot easier, that you could just cut it and it would just tape or glue together. But I kind of like doing it like this, even though it is a little more complicated to hold anyway. And once you get the hang of it, it's going to be easy peasy. But I kind of like doing it like this because it seems to be a little sturdier, because you have it twisted around. It tends to kind of secure it and stabilize it a little bit more with those extra layers going around it. So I know the design gets off, but I honestly don't mind that, because this is what you're going to be looking at in the front. And I think it's really pretty like that. And I love that it comes up to a point, and that kind of holds in whatever you're going to put in there. Keeps it from falling out as bad. Okay, so I don't know, I was talking and I didn't say this, but I glued this tiny little piece, and that way that just kind of holds it. So I hold it there until I can tell it's going to stay, and then I'll come back and take my glue. I either use the Fabri-Tac or like once I've gotten to this stage and I don't want a big clump of glue, then I take my little bitty tip on the art glitter glue and I'll go down in there like that and just go right along that edge until you get where you can't put any more glue. And then I just kind of hold it there for a minute so I can tell it's going to grab. And you could use hot glue here too. Just gets a little hard to get under that seam unless you have a tiny tip. It's just, if it starts moving, then your glue's going to smear all over your picture. So I usually try to glue the tip first once I get it tight. And it doesn't have to be that tight. It just so happened that this one got really tiny. So that's pretty much it. Now, something that I did not do that I should have if I wanted to do this is to ink. I should have inked my papers first, but this is probably a good thing because I can show you that it doesn't really matter. You can still go back and ink around the edges, even with it rolled up. And I'm going to come back and glue that inside too here in a second. But since it's loose, then I can pull it apart right here and I can ink it like this. So, you know, I forget a lot to do things in the right order, but it's okay because it can always be worked around. Sure, it would have been easier and smarter to have done that then, so I wouldn't have it smudging everywhere, but I don't mind it, especially on this particular design because it's already got that brown color, the really aged look about it. So, and I even do my tips sometimes. And then I come back and make sure the inside's done really good. You never know what's going to show and what's not, so that's why I just do it all. And that way it'll be safe either way. Okay, so ink the edges, then roll it, or roll it and then ink the edges. It's okay. So there is my first cone, and I think they're so pretty, just like that. I mean, you wouldn't have to do anything else to this if you didn't want to. Just stuff it with stuff. But of course, you know, we're going to embellish in a little bit. And I want to go ahead and put my glue. I just put it on that little corner right there. Just make the little L shape. And just stick it. And that'll be good enough to hold it. Okay. Okay, let's try another. So I have this pretty pattern. So let me go ahead and ink, since I actually remembered this time. I'm just going to ink all the edges, and so I'm going to do both sides because the inside will show too. Okay, so now I've got my edges inked. Figure out which way you want it to go, what you want to show, and I think I want this to be the outside. Okay, y'all, so I'm going to have to try it backwards this time because I really want this to show on the outside. But I'm not really good at it backwards. So let's see if I can master this. So if this is going inside, so I need to twist. Y'all are probably going to laugh at me because I have trouble. And it's really not hard. It's just hard. It's kind of awkward to hold until you get it going. So let me turn it backwards and do it with this hand. Yeah, see? We gotta make this work. I am a full believer in not giving up until you figure things out or accomplish what you aim to do. You may have to do it a different way, but don't ever give up. I'm just going to keep twisting. And then I'm going to try to let some of this out and push down. Just have to kind of twist and pull take out your stress. Sometimes it helps to push this part down and then twist again. Because, you know, it's not going to want to cooperate. So you're just going to have to make it. Okay, so now I'm backwards. So let's see if I can figure out how to glue this. So, okay, so I'm just going to take and glue that little tip right there. Always glue that little tip first, and that really helps secure it so that it doesn't keep popping open. And then once you get that kind of secure, then the rest comes a little easier if you can get it to stay. And we're going to make it. Okay, so I've got that. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this while I'm still holding the other one. Get that down in there. Check the front. I'm not real coordinated when it comes to stuff, so I'm sure it always looks more complicated when I do it, but you just have to kind of see what works for you. So here's that little corner. I'm going to glue that down. And see, they're going to be different each time. Like this time I didn't have much of a little corner to glue. But that's really part of the beauty in it, because they're all different. And they don't have to be perfect. So if you can ever get this to stay, then you can come back and glue this easy enough. And then from there, you're down the home stretch. So let's see if we can make this look easier on the next one. But that is going to be really cute. I love, love, love this pattern. So now I've got this one, and I want this to be my outside and this to be the inside. So let me ink it. Gosh, 2 times in a row, I remembered. And just so y'all know, this is a little tea light candle holder, and it works absolutely perfect for your little ink dauber. So that little birdie keeps me company on my desk. Guess I should have inked these first before I ever started the camera. All part of the process, huh? Okay, so now let's look at this one. So I'm trying to figure out which way the design would show better. Let's just kind of play with it and see. Because I really want the roses at the top. So I'm going to try it the way that works for me the best and see what we get. I like that these are showing. Let me twist it the other way. And see, once you roll it once, then it's easier to swap it because it's already got the shape. So you can play with it that way too. So then we have to do it the opposite way. Just kind of push and pull and twist. And see, you eventually get just a tiny little thing down there. And then if the inside's not open enough, then you can always kind of spread it out. You may have to retwist here again, but it'll eventually get there. I kind of like that one better. I think I'm going with that. And somehow I don't even have a little thing down here. I don't have a tip down there. So if that happens, just gonna go lefty on you here. I'm gonna go all the way down the seam. So you just never know what you're gonna get into with me. And if it's too much glue, then I like to I don't like it all seeping out and smearing my page. Okay, so let's just see if we can get it to stay together. That one did go together easier, you have to admit. I didn't make it look quite so crazy that time. So I think we're going to stay. So that one looks really good. I love the colors on that one. Look at that. Look how pretty that is. That'll be a fun one. Alright, I'll cut this one really quick. Okay, and sometimes you'll get just the tiniest little white line. So just go back and trim that. Alright, ink away. Okay, here we go. This one doesn't matter because they're all the same. So I can do it the way that works best for me and not have to worry about it. Just going to kind of twist it around. Hold it here. Sometimes that helps when you're twisting the bottom. Shape it a little bit. And I think that's good. So now I'm just going to glue this little tail. Use my Fabri-Tac. Hot glue would be fine. The art glitter glue would be fine too. So while that dries, I'm going to take and come back right here on this edge. I can feel it already grabbing down there, so I think I'm safe. So let's glue this little bit right here. I think I forgot to glue this one. Yep. Told you I forget everything. Okay, so that one's really pretty too. That's going to be a really pretty pink lace one. This would be a beautiful Victorian Christmas one. So I'm going to go ahead and start on one just to kind of show you my process here. So I've got all these little trims, all these cutesies here, little leaves. I need to go through and ink this one really quick because it's not inked yet. I'm just going to kind of show you the process a little bit. And I mean, it doesn't have to be done this way for sure. Just kind of go with whatever, however you like to decorate stuff, your style, and it will surely work with any of that. That's what makes it so fun. So I'm kind of grungying it up just a bit. Alrighty. So let me glue this little piece down. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is put something on the inside to kind of serve as a filler. This one is not really stiff, but I think if I bunch it, then it'll give me the look I want. So I'm just going to go behind here, kind of low, start gluing. And then I'm going to lay that. You can start out high because you can always drop it down, but once it gets in that glue, then it's kind of hard to pull it back up without it being yucky. So, okay, so I'm going to leave that just like that. That way you can still see some of the design behind it. And then I'm going to take a piece of my book page here. And I'm just going to make the top a rough edge. And then I'm going to ink it to give it a little bit of a grungy look. Okay, and the purpose of this is to kind of fill it in to where it's not so deep in there and everything just gets lost that you put in there. So I'm just kind of fanning it out kind of crushing it a little bit. Give it a really old look. Okay, so then I'm going to take it, I'm going to put some glue on the back. Kind of grab those little edges there. And I'm going to take and stick it down in here. I actually need to glue a little bit in these folds so that it won't open up on me in there. At the bottom anyway. Okay, so then I'm going to take, just kind of drop it down in there first, where I can still kind of see my lace before I let it attach. And then I'm going to get it like I want it, kind of bunch it up a little bit, drop it down just a little more so I can see that lace. And then I'm going to go in here and stick it. So then that kind of fills up that space a little more. And then what else I do, and you can work on your little wrinkles here if they're not exactly like you want it. I'm going to pull that little tool out a little bit. You can kind of smoosh these together a little bit more. Kind of work on those little wrinkles some. Okay, because you want it to kind of look like it's been there forever. And if you have to, you can add more glue behind it. Okay, so for the filler on the inside, let me show you what I did. So I printed off the book page, music, paper, whatever you want. You can actually use real book pages. I just wanted to use everything from the kit that I used on that design team project. So I just printed off the digitals and used those. So I'm just going to trim this out really quick. And it doesn't have to be perfect by any means. Matter of fact, we don't want it to look perfect, so you could even tear it. Get a little bit more white on this side. Okay, so then when it's this big, to go through my crimper, I need to cut it in half. So then what I do is I take this little crimper, and they're pretty reasonable. I would say like $15 or maybe a little more, but they're very inexpensive, and they do a really good job. Feed the paper through there between the two rollers, and as you feed, you clamp it on the bottom so that it holds it, and you hold it tight. And then as you go through, it crimps it. And it is that simple, and you get this really neat crimped paper. And so then for the inside of my little cone, I just take and I cut them long ways. You can do it either way, but I just find that you get more of a crinkly look when you keep the pieces longer. They don't just disappear in there and like fall between each other. So when you keep them a little bit longer, you're able to crimp them and crinkle them a little more so that they stay put where you want them. So I'm just going to go through here and cut this whole sheet. Okay, so now that we have those, then I just take and kind of wad them to where you get the little crinkled up look. Just take a couple at a time. And you can use more than just one sheet of this if you need to, but I find that this, one half of that sheet that we used just now, it pretty much does the job. So, because you don't want to put an over amount in there. See, so that's a good handful. So that just kind of goes down in there and kind of keeps everything from dropping to the bottom. And then as you put stuff in here, you can kind of pull it back out and let it hang over the sides. And it just makes a really cute little look. And it's super easy, super cheap. All you really need is the crimper, and you don't even have to have the crimper. You could just wad it up and it'd be just as good. So that is not necessary. I just like the crinkled look, the crimped look, because it kind of adds to the texture, and I've had that thing for years, so I might as well use it. But it's definitely not necessary. Okay, so the next thing I do once I get that done is I kind of decide on the trim I want. If I want any holes in the side to hang any dangles from or anything like that, then I would go ahead and punch those now wherever you want them. So just kind of decide that. So I don't think I'm going to put a hole in this one, but I am going to go ahead and glue this really old-fashioned trim. So let's work on that. So if you want it on the outside, then I would just go around the top edge of it. If you want it on the inside, then just go around the inside edge. It just depends on what look you're going for. Sometimes I like to put it on the inside just to give you a little finished look on the inside, but in this case, I really want this design to show the best I can and still fill it. So I'm not going to add anything extra here. I really like that poinsettia there. So I'm just going to kind of go around the edge all the way and glue that down right at the edge of it where that little bit of tulle sticks up. And it's very imperfect on this edge, so you really don't have to worry about being real precise, just as close as you can. And as you work it around, it'll fix itself. So it's really super easy, super cute. And so I'm just going to finish that off right here, and then we'll trim anything that is in the way. Kind of fuzzy. And I honestly think there's just that one little spot that needs trimming. Okay. Just kind of fix this right here. It makes a cute little frou-frou. Okay. So there's that. It's really cute. So then I'm just going to take, and I think I'm going to, I don't know if you can tell it, but this side is lower than this side as you go around the cone. So I'm going to take these little leaves and just kind of twist them to where you can see both front sides of them. And I'm just going to put a little glue in there to hold them. Like that. And then I'm going to put a little glue to add them here. And I haven't rehearsed this. I have no idea if this is where I want it, but I'm just going to see if it works there. And that little edge right there is going to bug me if I don't get it. So I'm going to take that little tip off there. Okay, so that looks cute. And then I want to take and get a little pin, one of my little bulb pins. And I'm just going to pin this. Got to find a little jump ring. There we go. And I'm just going to kind of pin this. Let's see, actually, I think I can go ahead and put my ribbons on here too. So I'm going to go with the pink next. Got this really soft little velvety ribbon. So I'm going to cut it a little shorter than the green. We'll just see how this works. If not, we can always go back and change it. And so I'm going to fold it to where both of the velvets are on facing the front. And that way it won't flip on me. I want to see the front side, not the back. So got that. And then I'm just going to take this little green curly ribbon and I'm going to put it on there. And then from there, I'm just going to pin it here. You could actually even put a hole there and let it hang like that. What do I want to do? I wish I had some other something to put there. Let me punch a hole. Okay, so I've got my hole puncher. And I have to go this way, which makes it a little more difficult, but it will work fine. Okay, so I'm just gonna try to eyeball it right here, and I'm not gonna go through that paper. See, I've got that paper line in it, so I'm gonna go between them. And I'm gonna try to get kind of centered there. Go right below that lace and punch. Alright, so it went through, but it didn't completely release it. So I'm just going to trim that. And then I'm going to set my little eyelet. And there we have a cute little place to attach our ribbon. So I'm just going to kind of go through there. I may have got it a little bit too low, but I think it'll be fine. I'm going to come up through that ribbon, and that way it won't be so high. And there we go. So you could leave it just like that if you wanted, or you could put something else, you know, here above, like to pin on there or attach there. Let's see if I can cut out one of these poinsettias, and I will, if I do that, then I'm gonna put it right behind this so you would see the flower here. So I'll do that and show you whenever at the end of the video. And then just fill it with whatever you want, little journal pieces, little pictures, little you know, the candy, whatever. It can be for journaling, or it can just be whatever else you'd like to put in it. Those little soaps, anything would be cute. So just they're so versatile for lots of stuff, but I think they are so cute. Now if you want a handle, you can add a handle. So let me see what I have for that. Let's make a little ribbon that hangs. And I think this one, I'm actually going to glue it inside so you don't see anything on the outside. So I'm going to put some glue inside of it right there. And I'm going to go right there with my ribbon. And then I'll do the same thing on this side. Let's see where we need it. So I think right there will be good. So I'm just going to come in here with my glue. And so there we have our little handle. So you could put beads or a little bow or whatever you want on this little handle. So there is that one. Okay, now let's work on this one. It's a little more plain, but I kind of like that too. So I'm just going to bunch my paper. I've kind of wrinkled it already, and it's coffee dyed, so it's already got that grungy, aged look. So I'm going to add some glue. And I'm going to add some glue on this side to kind of keep it from opening. That one little fuzz will not get off my finger. It keeps showing up. Okay, so now we're just going to go inside and kind of get it where we want it. And then I'll stick it. And kind of bunch up your little wrinkles as you go. If you like that look. It's totally up to you. in what you're creating. And drop it down a bit. So there we have that. And I'm just going to go around the edges here so it catches there too. And this side. So it doesn't have to be perfect for sure. It's just a filler. Okay, so I already have some pages cut up. So I'm just going to crinkle up some more. You can kind of take your frustrations out on stuff like this. And stuff it in there. I'm going to go really simple on this one too, because this one just looks like it would be really simple. Now what I wanted to do was to add the little coffee filter ribbon that I made. I'm going to use this little piece that's messed up on the end because the other piece is going to come around and catch it. So it won't matter. Kind of got crazy with the glue. So I'm just going to put that right up to the edge there. And keep going around. I hope I cut this long enough. I think I did. If not, we'll piece some more together. Alright. It's that simple. Doesn't take a whole lot to make these look cute. Okay, I didn't get that quite long enough, but I think it'll be fine. I don't think it's going to matter on that top edge right there. I'll just trim this little piece. You'll want to go ahead and fluff them a little bit because sometimes that glue catches them down a little farther and they're stuck before you realize it. So go ahead and fluff them when you do this and make sure that they're not attached. And see, there's a cute little ruffle around it. So I really like this old ribbon. So I think I may just use that and not a lot of other stuff. And this is what else I thought about doing. It's an old earring. So I thought that I might, actually it's some kind of clip. It's not an earring, that would hurt. It's got a gator clip on it. But I thought I could just clip it here. Kind of flip the ribbon a little bit. And I thought that would be really cute to put in here too, on the front. So just kind of, and I can clip it and then glue it. So I think I'm going to put some glue under here before I get too far. So I got to open it a little bit. Resituate it. And then I'm going to put a little glue on this side, so that when I clip it, it'll grab the comb. Okay, wish me luck. Let's see how this works. Oh, that's cute. Look at that. A cute little fluffy bow. I love it. I just love these old grungy bows like this when I find them. Don't ever pass those up. You may get made fun of them for buying them, but don't pass them up. They're too cute to not. They add such character to your projects. Okay, so we got that. So next, I thought about adding some stuff to the bottom of it. You'll excuse the glue all over my hands. I'm so messy. Let me find what I'm looking for really quick. Okay, so I've got this. I'm gonna get some of this Sari silk ribbon. I think I'm gonna get some of this little, whatever this is called. It's like for sewing. I'm not sure. It's kind of like cottony looking. I just think that would give it a little aged wispy look. And you could even coffee dye that. That'd be cool. Okay, so let's see how I want to do this. Attach it. I think I'm going to go ahead and make a knot in it. Look at the glue. So I'm just going to shape this. Kind of twist it to where it hangs down a little better. And then what I do is flatten the bottom a little bit. If you're going to glue something to the bottom, just kind of center it though. I didn't have mine very centered. But center it, flatten it, and then that gives you something to glue to so it holds better. So I think I'm just going to kind of do that at the bottom. And then if I find something else later, I'll add it. But that way you can kind of get the gist of it. And when you glue it, just kind of hold those sides in too so that they'll kind of catch that glue a little bit. And then you may have to come back and glue a little bit more underneath this piece here. It just kind of makes a little tail on it. I'm going to go ahead and put some more glue here. While I'm holding it, I might as well be holding it all and not have to come back. So I'm just going to pull some of those pieces over. Mainly that little cottony stuff. And that way it will kind of catch it. Like that. And then you can turn around and put a cute little bow here too, but we already have a bow, so I'll probably see if there's something else I have to add to that. Even if it's little beads that dangle that you could put right there. I like it kind of plain. Now you could always come back and add whatever else you wanted if you wanted it a little bit more decorative, but I'm gonna let whatever I put inside of it do that for me. So I love how this adds everything I wanted it to add. And then with the little tail at the bottom, I just love that. So, so cute. Let's do this one. This one I have this brown parchment paper that I'm just going to kind of stuff in there, wrinkly. And so I think this time, since I already kind of know how I want it, it's been stuffed in there for a few minutes, I'm just going to go in here and put some glue. Just like that. And I don't have to play with it a whole lot because it's already shaped. So just like that. And you can adjust this if you don't like it sticking out like that. For now, I'm going to leave it just to kind of see what happens. I'm just kind of get one more wrinkle in there. Okay, so we got that. And then I'm going to take and add it some more. First, I guess I'm going to do my lace. Let me do that first so I don't spill all that everywhere. So I have this that I thought I would just go around. And I'm going to let a little bit of that stick up at the top. So you can see that little bit of a loop. Thursday. It's really heavy, so it's gonna have to sit for just a second. Let's see if I can get it to adhere a little better. Okay, so I'm gonna hold it, go on around. All right, keep going. I hope y'all are enjoying this. They're just so cute. And there's so many videos out there, like over the years, of doing these. So if how I show you doesn't necessarily, you know, work for you, or a little too complicated, or you want it to have a different shape, then there's a lot of videos out there that do these. So there's lots of other people that you can learn from than just me. And they're all good. This is just how I ended up doing it. No rhyme or reason. Just what works for me. Okay, so now that we have that, I'll pull that up just a tad. Okay, now that we have that, I'm going to go ahead and put my paper inside and stuff it, and it's ready for whatever you're going to put in there. Alright, so then on the outside, what did I have for this one? Oh, I had this, and I had this. So I was just going to kind of, this one little piece I'm going to go ahead and glue out of the way just a tad. Just so it doesn't sit up in the front like that as bad. And then I'll glue this side down a little better. Sometimes you don't really know if you need extra toward the front to cover anything, so I always kind of leave it loose until you kind of know where you're going with it. And that way you have extra there to play with, just in case. Alright, so there's that, and then I'm going to take and put this on the low spot, I think. Yeah, I'm going to put it right there. So it goes this way. So I'm going to add some glue there. And kind of leave it sticking up just a little bit from the top. Let me pull it this way a little bit too. And then I have this pretty little flower that I had made a long time ago. Just laying some lace over each other. And I actually had it glued to a big music page, but I no longer need it for that. So here we go. It gets a new life. And so I'm just going to put glue all over that to kind of catch that flower, and I'm going to drop down just a little bit so you can see the top of that flower. And then I need to mash it good so it doesn't come off. And that's already looking beautiful. I'll twist it just a little bit this way. You have to hold it a second unless you use some hot glue. I just think that the time, which it doesn't take a lot of time, but I think that the time that you do spend on it is well worth it in the end, because you have this little cute handmade, I should say, handmade gift that just lets somebody know that you went to the time and took the effort to make something special for them. So I always think that handmade gifts are worth the time if they make somebody feel special. Okay, so there is that. And then the only other thing I really planned on doing with this one was adding some little lace here, because it already has the little bling. And then you can either hang it here like that, which I think that's where I'm leaving it, honestly. I like that. And then I'm not going to worry about anything at the bottom. I'm just going to leave that there because I like how that is hanging. You can play with the ribbons a little bit, but I really like how they're laying there. So there's that one. We just sat here and made 3 of them. Lickety split. Or I say lickety split. It's probably longer than I realized, but we're having fun, so that's all that matters. But so there is that one. Really pretty. Here's this one that we made. And I haven't put handles on either one of these. I think I'll use some twine for this. Let me do that. And this one, I'm going to find some more of the sheer ribbon. So here's the sheer ribbon. I'm going to tie a knot on each side. Like that. And like that. And that'll just kind of give me something to stick to the side. So I'm going to kind of glue in that little hole, and that'll help hold it. I'm just going to kind of stick that knot in that little hole. And hope for the best. It may not stay good, I don't know. Let's see. Sometimes this kind of ribbon does not adhere to stuff very good, because it is that sheer, slick little ribbon. Okay, so all my paper's sticking to my fingers. So then I'm going to come over here, and your string can be as long as you want, as short as you want. It's totally up to you. So I'm going to put this here, and make sure your ribbon is straight though. And then I'm going to put that there. And then I've got my twine here. I'm going to put on this one, just to give it a little bit of a rustic look. Okay, I think that's holding. Alright, so then this one, I'm going to cut a string and have some knots in it too. It can be this simple, or you can be elaborate. You can punch the holes in the sides and run them through that. You can add buttons or some kind of little bows on the side. It's just totally your choice and what style, like what you're creating as to what you go with. So there's that side. Flip it over. Go here. And there is our handle on that one. It's going to be cute. I may shorten that a little bit too. But that gives you the idea of how it turns out. Just have to hold those a little longer. Hot glue would work wonderful on that. Well, I hope you enjoyed making those with me today. And these will be in my shop eventually, at least some of them, but I want to make sure that I get them really nice and filled with fun stuff. So I'll put a notice up here like I will with the canisters whenever I get those done and I see that I can list them and find something to ship them in actually too. So I'll work on that and I will update y'all here and on Instagram. So before I go, I thought I would show you the finished product of the ones that I worked on in the video, and then the ones that we started but I didn't get to finish in the video. So here's this one. So I think it turned out really pretty. I love how Victorian it is. And you could still come back and add something to the hanging here, but I just kind of liked this one without. And then here's this one. I had told you that I was going to fussy cut the poinsettia, so this is how that turned out, and I think it added just the perfect little touch right there. And then I also cut out the bigger one and went ahead and added it to the top and let it kind of stand up above the top there. So I really like that on there. And I think that's all that I added to this one. You could still come back and add some little tassels here too. But I really like how pretty that one turned out. And then this one, I love, love, love how old and aged this one looks. And then here's the bottom. Turned out really pretty. So that vintage jewelry just adds the special touch, I think. And that really old bow. Now this is one that I did not decorate on camera, but I just wanted to come back and show you. I had these little sparkly hearts that I hung and just some rag strip ribbon here. And then I had this pink little gathered, I don't know what you call it, like chiffon looking ribbon. And then I also had this little trim. So I just put that right in the middle of that ribbon to add some little sparkle. And then I took the corner of a little doily and added that there at the top. And then here I just took the little rag strips and some lace and a little pink earring, little rhinestone earring. Little pearls that kind of mark the sides where it's attached. Real simple. And then this one turned out pretty. I double layered the little music inside. Added this little pink trim behind it. A little bit of silver sparkle there. And then just this little seam binding ribbon to hang, and it just kind of curls at the bottom. I put a little rhinestone on each side. And then this was just some velvet ribbon I had, and I just cut the little pieces and scrunched it in the middle. Wrapped the little piece around it like you would normally make a little bow, you know, when you cut the pieces like this. And then I had this little rhinestone piece I added to the middle. And then down at the bottom I added some more of that silver, some ribbon that matched, little lace, just little scrap pieces, and then this tiny, tiny little rose. Oh, and I didn't show this at the bottom, did I? So I showed you the ribbon, but here is actually a little rhinestone piece a little dangle that I hung from the bottom of that one. Sparkle. That one turned out pretty. And then this one, tried not to overdo on what I put on it. I did want to add a little piece of lace back here just to kind of soften it a little bit. And then I have this trim around it. And my glue is showing there, so I need to add a little button or pearl or something there to cover that. Then that flower I went ahead and added. And then just the little lace ribbon, the leaves that kind of look like they're coming out of the flower. And then at the bottom I added some more of that burgundy ribbon with just a little scrunched up piece of that same little tulle lace looking stuff up here. So that one's pretty too. Just lots of different ways you can make them look and different ways you can go with them. But they just all turned out so pretty. And they're so fun to make, especially with all the pretty digitals that you can get now. So I'll link all of those below, all the shops that I got from, and I'll try to at least let you know the names of the kits so you know what you're looking for. Well, thank y'all for being here today. I'm glad that you hung out with me and did some crafting with me. If anybody has any questions, just put them below in the comments below, and I will do my best to answer your questions or to get you the information you need. So I guess we will see each other back here next time. Until then, y'all have a great day. God bless.